I finished Baby Reindeer last night, and my God, the it was a good series, and I think it was presented well, especially for this to be a true story. So a few things. Initially, my thought was this is the successor to Misery, which I still feel the same way. Not in the sense that like this is a direct part two, because duh, this is a true story. But in the obsessiveness of the main character in Misery over the artist. So that doesn't change, but it is a lot deeper than I expected. Like, of course, this is a true story. It's not that I thought that it would have been done poorly, but my God, like right after, I think my last video was like episode 3 with the yellow jacket, and like the oh, it's so funny he wearing the yellow jacket, but whoa, that took a turn. And like one of the concerns I had was the trans character Terry, and how the handling of her, which I have no issues with. Well, again, I'm not trans, so what I saw to me didn't look to be blatantly like disrespectful or weird, and I have not seen conversations surrounding that character online that would suggest that. There may be some, so let me know, but from what I've seen, it hasn't been. And I really like Terry, and I'm wondering if the actress, if I've seen her in anything, because I watch a lot of British UK TV and movies and stuff, and I would like to see something else that she's in, even if she hasn't. Like what she's going to be in going forward, I'm definitely on board to watch. The young lady who played Martha, oh, freaking phenomenal. And I think the show was written well, because she's technically the villain, but some things started unfolding where it was very clear that Donnie, of course, he had his hand in it, but him allowing this, not nipping this behavior in the bud, is what added to him also being seen as the villain. And I thought that was like so interesting. And the funny thing about watching this is I watch media, I consume media, I critique media, and more times than not, it's fictional or fictionalized. And for this, I don't know what exact beats for beat were his full story, like if the whole thing was exactly what happened, or if there's been some creative liberties taken, but I'm taking it at face value that this is his full story. That makes it, I'm gonna say that makes it hard to critique, because it's a show, so it doesn't make it hard, but it feels a little different than other stuff. I think every character in this was done well. I saw a few familiar faces from different stuff, with the bar manager and the skinny guy who was added to the bar later. I think both of them were from, what is that movie turned TV show with Giancarlo Esposito, whatever, I don't know, I'll put it up on the screen if I can't remember. But it was, every character that was folded in had a purpose. And when you got the episode 6, I believe, when Donnie had his breakdown after Martha smashed him over the head with that glass, I don't know, man. So like the dark, self-deprecating British humor like was there, but it wasn't as much of a forefront character as I thought it would be, as the first maybe 2 episodes may have suggested. And maybe it was just me being primed from watching this type of content that wasn't based on a true story, or to my knowledge, that's like, oh, funny British this. But my goodness, this was heavy. I thought it was done well. And there were moments where I was like truly wrapped up in the show. You know how you can watch something like, oh, this show is good, this show is funny, and you just enjoying it, but you're like, oh, this is a good show. And then you have those pieces of media, specifically like TV, where you're like sucked in, you're locked in, you're like, I'm here not even necessarily at the edge of my seat, but they've done such a good job at crafting this world and presenting a story and kind of just sucking you in. And so you're just there like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the world. This is where I exist. And at every turn, I wanted Donnie to succeed. But even in his desperation to like take care of his family and to protect them, he ended up, also kind of looking like the bad guy. And Martha hitting him with the I'll record everything was just like, such a good, not plot twist, but a good reveal. I don't know, it was just really good. And I hesitate to be like, oh, I want a season 2, because that's not that type of show. This, I think, was done well. This is it. If Donnie gets a chance to go on and do more things, phenomenal. Because for this to be based off his story, and again, I don't know the details of like the writer's room and stuff, for this to be based off of his story, of course, the bones and the structure is his story, and I'm assuming he's in the writer's room, doing whatever else as well. Like I said in the previous video, I would love to see the play, like the one-man play that he did that became this. Because in the show, he's not a great comedian, and it's not even necessarily taste. He's specifically positioned to not be a great comedian. And he has these gags and props and all this good stuff, and it may not be your taste, but Donnie in the show is not great. He has funny moments and he progresses, but I'm thinking that you successfully crafted for the show this person who is not that great at the comedy, at the entertainment, but the actor, the guy who went through this, who's writing this, he is good at what he does, because look at this story that we're watching. It was kind of sort of a meta.
Well, I actually had seen Richard's previous show, Monkey See, Monkey Do, at the Edinburgh Festival, which is kind of detailing what happens in episode 4 of the series. And I just thought it was one of the most profound things I'd ever seen really on stage. And so he was always on my kind of radar really. And then I tried to go and see Baby Reindeer the play, but it was sold out. So I actually bought the play text, which is a bit Martha of me. Read that every day before he so that's like, no, just too hot. And then so when the email came through that said Baby Reindeer audition, I was like, oh my gosh. And I knew it would be good because I've obviously read the play text, but I read all of the episodes in one go, and I just was blown away. It's the best thing I've ever read before.
Is it true? I read you said if you never perform anything else, this will be like your greatest accomplishment. You love it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the thing I'm probably most proud of, really. I'm so proud of Richard as well. Thank you. No, I think that that's all shows to be part of. I've never played a character like Martha. I don't think I ever will again. Yeah. And so if I never work again, at least I can say I was in.
You're gonna work again. I think that is definitely.
All in all, this was a really good story, and I'm glad the story was told. The one thing that really got me that felt like a regular, just straightforward fiction show that would have suggested or hinted at a potential season 2 was the very last scene of Donnie going into a bar while listening to Martha's voicemails that he admitted was like his own personal podcast. And that was one of the ways that he kind of related to her. Oh my God, that was so heavy. But he went into a bar with his yellow jacket, ordered a rum and coke, I think, listened to that last voicemail that explained why she called him Baby Reindeer and the terrible childhood she had, and how he reminds her so much of this baby reindeer she had that was like the thing that kept her safe, her own security blanket. When the barkeep told him, hey, it's like $7.25 or something for the drink, he was like, hey, I don't got it. Homeboy was like, you know what, that's okay, it's on me. That was such, I love when shows, and I don't know if that part is fictionalized or what, but I love when a show and a movie or whatever circles back to the very beginning where he has essentially become Martha. My God, I was like, chef's kiss. Like, it's sad because he got everything he wanted and then let it I want to say let it go away, but for lack of a better term right now, in this moment, he let it go away by this obsession he had with Martha, but then that's also like checking some unresolved trauma that he had to work through. And he also admitted to the first girlfriend, like, that wasn't for me. I don't really care about that. Which is funny because we're watching his story and this is a project that has been made. Yes, it's informative, but it's like an education, entertainment piece. So it's like, how much of that is in the show or was true at that time and then now is different because you've even spoken with your abuser who is now giving you this dangling carrot of like, yeah, you can come back and work for Cottonmouth reboot that we're doing. It's like, even that, I wonder like how much, whatever, I don't go there.
Like it was intentional to build that in, or was it a part of just the story as you're fleshing out the characters?
Yeah, I think I struggle with what a sort of like sort of toxic empathy problem, like where I sort of just feel a lot for people. And I remember when I was going through it, I remember, you know, when I was getting in real life and I was getting stalked and it was relentless and it felt like it was everywhere and I felt like my life wasn't really functioning. I still had these unbelievable pangs of feeling sorry for her. And I remember even like when it was at its worst, when she got my phone number and I got advice to, you know, listen to the voicemails because if something was threatening, things can be sped up and it can move from harassment to an actual dangerous situation. I remember like even when I was like, oh my God, like all I'm doing is listening and it's like, it's almost like poisoning my brain. Because it should say something in one of these voicemails and I would just be like, oh my God, like at the end of the day, she's someone who's just in a lot of pain, you know? And I thought that was almost way more important to get across than, oh, woe is me, isn't my life difficult, this person's stalking me. Because I never saw someone who was a villain. I saw someone who was kind of lost by the system, really. You know, I saw someone who needed help and wasn't getting it.
I think what I like so much about this is the payoff, is that you get this entertaining, interesting story in the first maybe 1 or 2 episodes. You understand the severity of it really quickly, and about the third going into the fourth and how heavy things were, this traumatic past, this desire to attain fame, and then you get this episode 6 that brings everything together, that essentially is like the payoff for you being invested so far. And then the very end, you get this thing flipped on its head where honestly it's an ambiguous enough ending that you can kind of make up in your mind what happens next. Does he become the next Martha, or does he go on and just be a well-adjusted person eventually? Like, does he get any of those things he wanted before? Does he even desire those things? There's another UK show, and I've made a video on it before. I'll put the video somewhere here. But it did this in a, I hated the way they did it. There was the young guy who was obsessed with this girl. She was like, went through like this kind of sex trafficking thing, and she stole something, I think, and they stole from the local drug. It was a whole thing. But the whole show is the trial of this man talking about the events of the things that happened and figuring out, I think, if he killed somebody. I don't know. But the way it ended was so terrible. And this isn't even a spoiler. Like, I do not like the ending where they tried to make it this ambiguous thing where did he get off? Did he not get off? And it's like, you need to tell us something. And I think where that show failed miserably, this show, Baby Reindeer, did a good job. So like I said, I'll put the video somewhere or put the photo of the show or whatever. But all in all, this was a good series. I do recommend watching it. It's heavy. It's not without its faults, but even that, the terrible crass humor, not of the show, but of the actor Donnie in the show, that is like, what is this? This is stupid. That's all addressed in a way that doesn't feel, it feels like if you have someone be a mean asshole on the show and just like pushing over kids and I don't know, cussing at teachers, yes, that character is exhibiting bad behavior, but if in that same show they also have to reckon with their behavior, have to deal with the consequences of it, and decide to be a better person, or at the very least just to stop bullying, that does not make the bullying for the show a bad thing. That is something that is moving the plot along. And so that's kind of how I felt about some of his jokes. Like, I still am like, ugh, this was trash. But it's also like he realized, even though some of the time it was Martha saying you're shit, it's not untrue. He was shit. And his success and confidence in the beginning with his comedy was because of Martha. So I don't know, all in all, it's really good. I'm going to sit with this show for a little bit more, maybe come up with another video, because there's so many angles, so many, like, oh my God, even the first girlfriend, the black girl, having her sit down with him and be like, look, you need to move back in with my mama because you got a lot going on. And it was, I don't know, it was just really good. So it's heavy, it's dark, it has some true life issues. Again, I don't know how much of it was made fictionalized for the entertainment value, but all in all, it was a good solid story. And I don't know, A+. So watch it, or don't, but watch it.
I told you all, I see elements of humanity in all of the characters in such a beautiful way. You just did a wonderful job. What do you each want folks to take away? And I'll just go down the line here, starting with you, Richard.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever want, in a way, my audience or any viewers to take away anything in particular from it. I quite like the fact that its message is ambiguous. I sometimes have problems with work where it's so clear what it's trying to say to you. I think I've seen so many different articles on the ending of Baby Reindeer, for example, that final look up where Donnie looks up at the bar, and people saying, well, it means he's a stalker, or no, it just means that he's realized he's similar to Martha, or he's just, you know, and I've seen about 7 different interpretations of that, and I like that because I ultimately want my people to take what they want from my work. So I would never really want, I would never really insist that anyone took anything from it other than what they wanted, really.
You know, it's a kind of messy story where it's not all tied up at the end in a nice bow, and I don't think there's a kind of villain or a victim in it, really. That's what I would want to take away. I mean, so much so that actually when we were filming, one of the drivers said, well, I drive both villains for this show. And I said, oh, you drive Tom, who plays Darian, and genuinely then I was like, who else did he drive? And then I was like, who else? And he was like, you. And I was like, who has told you she's the villain? Like, what? I was completely like, huh? So I hope that people take the nuance away from Richard's amazing writing, everyone's amazing storytelling, and just hope, you know, there's no kind of right or wrong answer, really. It's all a bit messy, and that's fine as well.